Thomas Busby was a man who lived in the late 1600s. Busby had lived most of his younger life growing up in the city of Leeds, England, but had moved to the smaller village of North Berkshire around the beginning of the 1700s. He was a known petty criminal and thief who was known to have had a very bad temper. One of his illegal activities was counterfeit coin making. He had an operation with his older partner, Daniel Oddie. Thomas had bought a home that was way high up on a hill that overlooked town, so no one could sneak up on him. If he looked out and saw anyone coming, he could quickly hide whatever crimes he was in the act of committing. Busby and Oddie also were co-owners of a pub in North Berkshire called the Busby Inn. It was a spot where all the locals loved to come in for a drink, socialize, and talk about all of the things that went on in their lives. Busby and Oddie, although they made good money there, they rarely got along. Things began to sour even further when Oddie's teenage daughter took a liking to Thomas Busby. Although her father forbid them to see each other, Elizabeth was headstrong and stubborn and continued to date the often violent thug, Thomas Busby. Although he treated her fairly well in the beginning, as soon as the new wore off, it was said that he started to abuse the younger woman. It most certainly would have infuriated Daniel Oddie, seeing his daughter being treated in this way. No one knows for sure what happened or what triggered the events leading up to the vicious fight, but it was probably something to the effect of Oddie telling Busby to stay away from his daughter. Busby went to the inn and had a few beers in his favorite chair that he always sat in at the pub. His anger grew and he set out to find Oddie. After a brutal fight, Oddie was killed by Busby's bare hands. After seeing what he had done, he tried to hide the body out in the woods and cover it up, but like most crimes, it was quickly solved and Busby went on trial. After being convicted and sentenced to hang, Busby asked for and was granted one final wish. He asked if he could go to his pub and sit in his favorite chair and have a final drink before being hung. The wish was granted and so he set forth and sat down in his favorite chair. After finishing his drink, he stood up and said, "From this day forward, anyone who dares sit in my chair here will most certainly die an untimely death." He was then led away and hung right in the middle of the town square where it was observed by many townspeople. He died in 1709 and his body was left to hang for several days as a warning to anyone else who thought that it would be okay to commit murder or other similar crimes. Because of his death, the pub was immediately closed and it sat empty for quite some time. When it reopened, the original furniture was still sitting there. One of the first customers to come in was an airman from World War II. When he heard about the curse on the chair, he laughed and sat right down and had a beer. When he went back out and returned to flight, his plane that he was flying crashed. His remains were never found. Another man that came in was a local chimney sweeper, who unknowingly sat down in the chair and had a pint. As soon as he got up and left, he went back to work and was soon found dead in a chimney. Not long after, another man came along and sat down in the chair, and as soon as he left, his car hit a tree on the way home. In all, the chair was accredited to over 60 possible deaths. The owner, after finding out about many of these, began to fear that the curse may actually be true, so he decided to put the chair in the basement until he figured out what to do with the chair. A local repairman who came to inspect the pipes saw the chair, decided to sit down and have a break. He died shortly after of a heart attack. The owner knew then something had to be done about it and fast, so he decided to donate the chair to a museum in Thirsk, under the condition that it was to be hung up high on the wall and no one was ever allowed to sit in it. It was displayed up high as promised, and so far, it still hangs up on the wall of the museum to this day, just hoping that one day, someone will come along and take it down and set in it so that it can return to its killing spree. What do you think? Would you sit in the Busby Stoop Inn chair? If you liked the story, we hope you'll consider liking our video and hitting subscribe and maybe sharing it with your friends. We appreciate you all. If you have a story idea, we'd love to hear about it in the comments section below.